Have you ever heard birds outside your window and wondered whether they are actually saying something? Not just making noise, not just singing because it sounds beautiful to us, but really communicating. Because once you start paying attention, it becomes impossible not to ask, why are they so loud in the morning? Why do some suddenly go silent? Why do some burst into sharp, urgent calls when danger appears, while others make soft sounds as if they are checking in with one another? The answer is yes, birds really are communicating, but not in the same way humans do. They are not sitting in trees discussing philosophy or asking each other how their day is going. What they do have is something more specific and, in many ways, just as fascinating: a rich communication system built for survival, territory, attraction, coordination, family life, and social interaction. The more scientists study birds, the clearer it becomes that the world around us is full of messages we usually do not understand. Do birds actually have a language? This depends on what we mean by the word language. If by language we mean a fully open-ended human system with grammar like ours and the ability to talk about anything imaginable, then no, birds do not appear to have language in that sense. But if we mean a meaningful communication system, one that can send information about danger, identity, territory, attraction, movement, and need, then yes, birds absolutely do. And this is where many people get it wrong. Birds are not making random background noise. Their sounds often have real functions. A call can warn others. A song can defend territory. A begging sound can tell a parent that a chick is hungry. A contact call can help flock members stay together. So even if birdsong is not human speech, it is still highly organized, highly meaningful, and often surprisingly sophisticated. What's the difference between songs and calls? One of the most useful ways to understand bird communication is to separate bird sounds into two broad categories: songs and calls. Songs are usually longer and more complex. In many species, they are associated with mate attraction and territory defense. When a bird sings from a branch again and again, it is not often singing for fun. It may be broadcasting something more like, "I'm here, I'm healthy, and this space is mine." Calls are usually shorter and more practical. They can be used for alarms, staying in contact, coordinating movement, begging for food, or signaling immediate situations. So if birdsong is sometimes like a public performance or announcement, calls are often more like fast, functional signals used in everyday life. That distinction is not perfect in every species, but it is a powerful starting point. Once you hear birds that way, the soundscape changes. What once sounded like one blur of chirping starts to feel more like a system with different tools for different jobs. Why are birds so loud in the morning? This is one of the most familiar mysteries in nature. Why, right around dawn, do birds suddenly seem to take over the world? That early burst of sound is often called the dawn chorus, and in many species it is strongly tied to territory and mating. Early morning is one of the most important communication windows of the day. Many of the songs heard at dawn are thought to function as warnings from males defending territory and mate relationships, while also signaling fitness to potential partners. So the morning chorus is not just a beautiful soundtrack for humans, it is often a live broadcast of competition, attraction, and presence. In a way, morning is when many birds make themselves most clearly known. And once you realize that, the whole scene feels different. Dawn stops sounding like random beauty and starts sounding like a crowded social world waking up and announcing itself. What do birds say when there is danger? This may be the clearest example of bird communication having real meaning. When danger appears, birds often produce alarm calls, and these are not all the same. In some species, the structure, intensity, or repetition of the call can affect how others respond. Instead of simply meaning danger, the signal may carry a level of urgency. That means bird alarms are not always just emotional explosions. They can be information-rich warnings that help others decide whether to freeze, flee, scan the sky, dive for cover, or join in on mobbing a predator. A famous example comes from tit species, where different call patterns can trigger different levels of response. And in Japanese great tits, researchers found something even more striking. Certain call combinations seem to function like meaningful sequences, where one part may encourage scanning for danger and another may recruit others to approach. When combined in the right order, other birds respond differently than when the order is reversed. That does not mean human grammar, but it does mean that, in at least some cases, bird communication is more structured than simple one-note reactions. Do birds understand each other, even across species? Surprisingly, yes, sometimes they do. Birds often understand members of their own species very well, but in many environments, they also learn to pay attention to the alarm calls of other species. That means a forest or garden can become an information network. One species spots danger, gives a warning, and others nearby benefit from it, even if they are not the same kind of bird. What makes this even more impressive is that some of this recognition appears to be learned socially. Studies show that birds can learn unfamiliar alarm calls by hearing them paired with known alarm signals. In other words, they are not always born with this knowledge, they can build it. So, birds do not just live side by side, they can also eavesdrop on one another. They listen, learn, and use information that crosses species boundaries. And from an evolutionary point of view, that makes perfect sense. If another animal has already detected danger, ignoring that message would be a bad strategy.
Do birds have names, accents, or dialects? In some cases, something surprisingly close. Let's start with names. In wild parrots, researchers have found evidence for learned signature contact calls. These are individually distinctive calls that function a bit like vocal labels. Young parrots appear to learn these signature-like calls from their parents, which means identity signals in at least some birds are socially learned, not purely built in from birth. So when people say that some birds have names, that is an oversimplification, but it is not fantasy. In certain species, individuals really do seem to carry distinctive vocal identities. And then there are dialects. In some songbirds, including white-crowned sparrows, song varies by region. A bird's song form can depend on where it lives, almost like a local accent or dialect. These differences are not just random noise, they are part of learned vocal culture. That means bird communication is not only about species-wide signals, it can also include local traditions, identity cues, and population-level variation. The more you look at it, the less bird sound seems like instinct alone, and the more it starts to look like a mix of instinct and learning. Can birds recognize humans? Some definitely can. One of the most famous examples comes from northern mockingbirds. Research has shown that they can quickly learn to distinguish among individual humans, especially around nests. Birds exposed to a more threatening person reacted differently than they did to less threatening people, showing that they were not simply responding to human in general. They were recognizing specific individuals. Crows are another remarkable example. Research on American crows found that they can learn and socially transmit information about dangerous human faces. In other words, not only can some birds recognize humans, they can also spread that knowledge socially. This is one of those discoveries that completely changes how you think about everyday bird life. To many birds, humans are not just background scenery. We can become known individuals, and not always in a good way. Can birds communicate with body language too? Absolutely. Bird communication is not only sound. Many birds use posture, movement, feather position, wing displays, courtship dances, bill gestures, and other visual signals to communicate. In courtship especially, body language can be just as important as vocalization. A bird may sing, but it may also puff its chest, twist its body, spread its wings, bow, hop, flutter, or present a striking visual display to send a message. These displays can communicate interest, aggression, confidence, submission, readiness to mate, or territorial intent. In other words, if you focus only on sound, you miss half the story. Bird language is often multimodal. It is voice plus movement, song plus posture, sound plus display. And that is one reason it can feel so expressive even when we do not understand the exact details. We are seeing signals as well as hearing them. Can birds lie or trick each other? This is one of the wildest parts of the whole subject. Yes, at least some birds seem capable of deception. A famous case comes from the forked-tailed drongo in Africa. Researchers found that these birds use false alarm calls to scare other animals away from food, then steal the abandoned meal. Even more impressively, drongos can vary the alarm sounds they use, including mimicking alarms of other species, which helps them avoid being ignored when one trick stops working. That is not just noise, that is strategic manipulation. So bird communication is not always honest. Sometimes it's cooperative, sometimes it's protective, and sometimes it's opportunistic. Just like in many social systems, signals can be used not only to inform, but also to exploit. And that makes bird communication feel even more complex, because now we're not just talking about calls and songs, but about tactics. So, do birds have a language? Not language in the fully human sense, not conversation as we know it, not tiny feathered debates happening on telephone wires. But birds are very clearly communicating. They warn, they attract, they defend, they coordinate, they identify, they display, and in some cases, they even deceive. Which means the sounds around us are not empty at all. They are signals, messages, reactions, relationships. A whole living network of information playing out above us every day. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of all. The next time you hear birds outside your window, don't think of it as background noise. Think of it as a conversation. Not one built like ours, but a real one all the same.